Hey, Chad, do me a favor. Every time you see one of my videos, tell me to drink water. I just had a very scary incident yesterday. The ambulance came. Everybody was around me. They hooked me up with about 50 different probes. I looked like an astronaut about to take off. And it was dehydration, but I felt awful. And today I am in pain from the neck down. Surprisingly, I don't have a headache or anything like that. So anytime you see one of my videos, tell me to drink water. Just remind me. Say, hey, did you drink water right now? Go ahead and drink some water right now. It's not that I forget. It's that I forget and I don't like drinking water. So I got cases and cases of coconut oil and tonic water and all sorts of stuff now. So maybe you should say that too. Make sure you get some. Oh, and the EMT said you don't need just water. You also need electrolytes. So you got to get all of that stuff. All right, let's get on with the video. I know other YouTubers share stuff about their personal life. I do not, but I have been through hell and back. I'm still in hell. This is why I don't have videos, because I'm doing these videos on a laptop that can barely surf the internet, and I'm trying to do video development on them. If you are wanting to know what happened for two years, I will tell you. I'll make a video, face and all, so you can see what I look like now. All right, on to the video. I'm not married. I haven't had a girlfriend in 10 years. And one of the things that I was talking about on my channel, my YouTube channel, you can check out all of my postings on my channel, Shakaama. It's really simple. youtube.com/Shakaama. I'm in the root folder of their website. That's how long I've been a YouTuber. I'm in their root folder. You don't have to put anything else in between it. youtube.com/Shakaama, and I'm coming up. One thing I was talking about is that I do not tolerate anyone, but especially women, loud talking me. You can't raise your voice to me. Well, first of all, I grew up, you might not know this, I grew up kind of like royalty. So just right off the bat, I'm not used to anybody raising their voice to me, because I was always, oh, here's Shakaama. Shakaama, how can we help you? And when I say I grew up like royalty, I had maids, butlers, chauffeurs, chefs, gardeners, night watchmen, guards, bodyguards, the whole 9 yards. I grew up like royalty. I grew up better than most of the rich people that you see online, on TV, all of these people who are getting into trouble because this and that and the other, because they don't know how to live like a rich person. But I guess they don't have the money to pay for all of those people. I grew up like a prince because you all paid for me to be like that. And I thank you. And that's mostly how most royalty today actually survives, because they have taxpayer funding to live like that. I grew up like that, and I was not used to anybody raising their voice to me. So if somebody raises their voice to me, I either excuse them or I excuse myself. But here's the thing. Because I don't have that lifestyle anymore, I immediately ignore the person. And I don't think you understand. When I say ignore, they cease to exist for me. For a woman, for you to ignore a woman, just even a little bit, but to my extent, at my level, where they cease to even be there, where I cannot even see them. And I convey this very convincingly. They're not there. They no longer exist. I don't get all huffy and, oh, don't you, no, I don't argue. They cease to exist. Period. I drove a woman crazy like that, just ignoring her. I won't get into what I mean by I drove her crazy, but you can objectively say, oh, okay, yeah, you drove her crazy. Now, somebody made a comment saying, all men should do this. As soon as a woman raises her voice, here's the problem for all the women who are all up in their feelings all of a sudden, right? Why would you do that? No. Here is the problem. Or the women who think, well, I can have an opinion. Here's the problem. I can't punch you. I can't destroy you. I can destroy a man. I can make a man wish he had never said anything ever to me. I can do that to a man. I can't do that to you, a woman. So I ignore you. You cease to exist. You wink out of existence for me. That is my retaliation. You're going to raise your voice to me? Listen to me. Do you think I go around raising my voice to people? No, I don't. I'm like this low-key, all the time. You want to raise your voice at me? I can't punch you, but I can do something that I know will get you. I have a psychology degree. I know how you think. I know how you behave. I know what you really, really deep down want, even from guys that you don't want. Even from the fat, ugly, short, broke guys that you don't want. You still want attention from them. So it is my duty to convey to all men on the planet, if a woman does anything that you do not like, ignore her immediately. And when I say ignore her immediately, I mean ignore her. This also means that you can't be living together if you're not married. Stuff like that. I mean, simple stuff, right? You understand? Because it really wouldn't work at my level if you were like living with the woman, right? Because that would cease to exist for me too. But if you're married to this person, hopefully you don't get to the point where you're married to such a person who would raise their voice to you. I think feminism has done such a play on women that they do not actually remember how men actually treated them. There was no raising of voices. Feminism kept feeding you the story of the abuser, the beater, the abuser. That never happened. That never happened. And do you know what other men did to abusers? We beat the man. You've let these women, who are lesbian, by the way, tell you the story of, oh, you were a slave to this man and you did all the house. No, he put in 12 hours a day to pay all of the bills, and on weekends fixed everything in the house and the outside too, and washed the car and mowed the lawn. Meanwhile, you sat at home watching your telenovelas, your soap operas. Or you sit on the fence and gossip with your neighbor who was also at home and married. Everybody was married. Everybody was married. Black people had a 96% two-parent household. 96%. There was no welfare. There was no baby mama. There was no single mother. That didn't exist. You've let these feminists tell you this fantasy, this horror story of men were so terrible to women. No. And after many years of marriage, he would buy you a pearl necklace. And once a month, you all would go out to eat to keep you from cooking. This is a night out. You don't have to cook. Why did you cook? Because you cared about your family and you loved your husband. That's why you did the stuff that you did. It wasn't a man forcing you to do anything. Let's flash over to the farmhouse wife. She did almost nothing on the farm, but she did all of the stuff inside of the house and all the stuff concerning the house. She had her own little garden. Everybody ate from the ground directly. No supermarkets, no fast food, no man-made junk. And the farmer woke up before the sun came up and got home when the sun went down. That's something like 14 hours. Oh, the woman had it so bad. No. And the sons did the same thing. Before going to school, they woke up also before the sun came up and helped Dad in the fields. Then went to school, then came back from school and went back into the fields with Dad. Let's flash over to the manufacturing people in the north. Again, he woke up before, these are all poor people, by the way. He woke up before the sun came up, went to the plant, worked in the plant. Thank God he didn't get his arm chopped off or something. And the whistle blow for the day to end. And all 50,000 men walked home or rode the bus, but mainly walked home. Dirty, filthy, got undressed, and the woman had already made his bath. He got into the tub, washed up, and then came to dinner in clean clothes that she had laid out for him. He paid all of the bills, everything. And let me talk about this word provider. It was created by this psychologist. Of course, you know, I'm going to know that, right? It was created by a psychologist who's leading up to this whole woke stuff that's about to come 50 years later. The plant worker worked all day, came home filthy, smelling, greasy, the whole 9 yards. And after he washed and got dressed again, he came to the table and had dinner that you, the wife, everybody's married, cooked. Why? Because he pays all the bills. He works tooth and nail, hand and foot, by the sweat of his brow. He paid all of the bills, everything. We don't get to offices until around 50s and 60s. But the war had started and all of those men came back home. And the powers that be, the corporations and the Federal Reserve, had the bright idea, we can keep the women working and we can charge them taxes. That way we can get taxes from the men and the women. Let's put out a promotion to say that women should work and make their own money. Then they don't have to ask their husband for a pearl necklace. They don't have to ask their husband to go out to eat, because even the ones with money ask the husband, can they go out to eat? And the husband says no. Why? Because the husband has the entire budget for the entire household and the kids and the cars and everything in his mind. The power bill, all the bills, everything in his mind. No, you can't go out to eat. Well, that's not in the budget. But if the woman makes her own money, she doesn't have to ask the man for anything. And we can tax her. We can double the tax rate. And oh my goodness, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Now there's double the amount of people working. And now we don't have to give raises, and we don't have to consider we need to give Johnson a raise because he's got a new baby boy in the family. What does that make, Johnson? That's the 5th one, sir. Okay. We're going to give Johnson a raise. Everybody agree Johnson should get a raise? Yes. Okay. None of that anymore. That's all gone. Gone. Because now we have double the amount of people vying for the same jobs. You don't get raises. I remember being called to a meeting to discuss my raise, and they wanted to give me a nickel. A nickel. This was bad even then. This is bad today. This was bad even then. A nickel? Come on. I was all like, I don't even know what that is. I don't know what is a nickel in a year. Is that like $5 or something? Let's talk about a nickel after taxes. $5, right? Something like that. This is what happens. Now they have to go through the motions. Now people don't have pensions. Everybody had a pension. Work for the company for 30, 40 years, and you get a pension, and then boom, you cash out, and there's your retirement. You do not have to rely on the government. But the government said, no. Don't pay them pensions because we want all of that money. And now you have double the amount of people working and applying for jobs. So no pension, no raises, and it's all women's fault. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not all women's fault. It's all the powers that be's fault convincing women who should have said, let me get this straight. You want me to give up my soap operas, to give up gossiping every day, to give up packing the lunches for the kids and trotting off to school with them and coming back home, doing some light housekeeping, because you do the big clean in the spring and the fall. That's how you run a household. But you were told that, oh no, you have to slave. First of all, how nasty are you? What are you doing that you're slaving every day to clean the house? It's light housekeeping. When you go to cook, as you're cooking, you're washing the dish. Now we have dishwashers. Imagine back then they didn't have a dishwasher. There was no such thing. But it's the same thing. If you don't have a dishwasher, as you cook, you clean, you wash whatever you're using. So at the end of the dinner, all you have is the pot with the food in it and the plates. Boom. You eat, wash up, boom. Now you have the late night primetime TV. There you go. You have been convinced that everything was so horrible. Now we have vacuuming robots. We have window cleaning robots. We have dishwashers. We even have house-made robots now. I don't know if you've seen this. Now you don't have to do anything. And you're still not happy. Why are you still not happy? Because you've taken on all of the responsibilities of a man without the makeup of a man, without the brain of a man. The brains are not the same. We don't even think the same. Do you know that the female brain, so we have two hemispheres, right? We have a right side and a left side. The female brain, the left and right communicate with each other, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Because of this, so one side of the brain is logic, the other side of the brain is chaos. And when you communicate between the two, it increases your communication skill. Men, our brains do not talk between the hemispheres. We are longitudinal. The right side thinks right and looks right and takes input from the right. The left hemisphere looks left, thinks left, and takes in information from the left. This is why we have better 3D information input than women. This is why we can drive cars better, not have as many accidents. And people say, no, men get into more accidents. No, men do not get into more accidents, not per capita. So it's a crazy stat. You want to get into stats. Women have something like 70% accidents. Men have something like 10. They're big, and that's simply because 90% of the people on the road are men. There are more men just driving around. If men had anywhere near the accident proneness that women had, you couldn't drive because there would be an accident all over the place. You could not drive on the street. There would be an accident every 2 feet. That's how that stat works out. This is how that stat works out. You don't, so you add the 10%, but there's a whole bunch of men. So you do see accidents, and they're crazy, like the big rig trucks that are destroying bridges, that type of crazy, that type of accident. But it's so infrequent, but large, right? Because there's 90% of the people on the road are men. We don't think the same. You want to take all the responsibilities of a man, but you're not a man. You don't think like a man. You don't behave like a man. You don't take in information like a man. None of it. And you're miserable. I'm not saying you're a miserable person. I'm saying you're miserable at 2025 because you've decided that men and women are equal and that women can do everything that a man can do and they can't. And it's just repeated over and over and over. You can't. And then a rich white woman comes along who has everything that I had growing up, right? She has servants. So when she says, I can take care of my children, no, a servant does that. I can bring them home, no, a servant does that. And I can have a job, she works from home. And I make millions of dollars from home. And she's a Vanderbilt or something like that. That's her thing. And she's trying to convince you who work in a farm or work in a plant, that you can do the same thing. You who don't have a car can do the same thing as Elizabeth Vanderbilt. Just even try and formulate your mouth to say that. You can take care of, first of all, you're married, and you pay half the bills, and you have to pay half the bills because inflation is crazy. You can't have the man paying for everything all by himself anymore. That's gone. That's long gone. And then you go on social media and says, I would never pay 50-50 with a man. Really? Where are you living? I'm living at home with my parents. Oh, so a man is paying all of your bills and you don't have to work. And you're trying to replace your family with a man. You're not that woman, first of all. You're not Elizabeth Vanderbilt, first of all. She didn't have to work. She didn't have to make money. When the CEO of Facebook came out with her book saying you can have it all and all that sorts of Lean In, that was her book. It was talking about her and her lifestyle. She's a billionaire. Do you think maybe she has absolutely no idea what you, a broke woman who works for a living, works by the hour, does she understand your stuff that you have to go through? I don't think she does. And this is why you should ignore women. What's the comedy joke? You can't live with them and you can't murder them or something like that. you can't commit homicide, something like that. But that's the idea, that we cannot treat you as equal as much as you want to say that you're equal. You're not equal to a man. I can't do to you what I would do to a man if a man did the same thing that you're doing. You understand? And I don't care if you say, well, I beat up somebody. Darling, there are men who are super duper tough, super duper strong, 6'5". And guess what? There's a man who can beat the living daylights out of them. So please do not formulate your mouth to say anything as ridiculous as, I can do this and that and the other to a man. I'm equal to a man. You're not. There are not men equal to men. Every man who has a mentor, the mentor is going to tell them there is somebody bigger, better, smarter, faster, all than you. You just have to do you and keep doing you. And then there's also the saying of, don't be like other people, be like yourself because everybody else is taken. Don't be a man if you're a woman. There's no need for you to be a man. We have men. 48% of the world population is men. We're full up on men. Be a woman. Do you know that's a new thing? Is that crazy to say in 2025? Be a woman. Then you won't get mentally insane from dealing with Shakaama, who ignores you, whom you don't even exist. Thank you all for watching.